There exists an ancient encrypted manuscript passed down through civilizations long buried in the sands of time. They called it the Times Sleep Codex, Times the Code of Sleep. No one knows who wrote it, only that on silent moonlit nights, when humans gently close their eyes, the book opens another chapter within the unconscious. Sleep, seemingly a simple act of rest, is in truth a sacred ritual performed nightly by the soul to restore the harmony between consciousness and the subconscious. Those who understand this ritual are no longer mere dreamers. They become creators, shaping their own destiny within the tender darkness of night. Since the dawn of human memory, people have known that something extraordinary hides beneath the veil of sleep. The ancient philosophers never saw it as the shutdown of the body, but as a doorway to the other side of awareness, where thoughts become energy, and energy weaves itself into the fabric of life. Each night, as light withdraws and silence descends, the veil between two worlds grows thin enough for one to hear the heartbeat of the universe echoing within their own chest. It is in this intersection that invisible seeds are sown, seeds that, by the time dawn returns, blossom into the circumstances, emotions, and realities we live in. The Times Sleep Codex Times calls this the law of dream planting. Everything we think, say, or feel in the moments before we fall asleep are seeds planted in the soil of the subconscious. When the conscious mind dissolves, the subconscious receives them entirely, nourishes them, and by morning translates them into tangible outcomes in daily life. Some plant seeds of faith and grace, they awaken in peace. Others plant fear and worry, they awaken in a heavier world. The Codex condemns no one. It merely illuminates the truth that each human being is the gardener of their own soul. The sages once said, "Night is not for forgetting, but for becoming." That sentence is the key that unlocks the entire doctrine of the Times Sleep Codex *. While the modern mind sees sleep as cessation, the ancients saw it as a silent act of creation. They believed that when the body sinks into stillness, the mind enters its most dynamic realm, where all physical laws pause and the commands of consciousness are inscribed directly onto the energetic fabric of reality. Thus, they entered sleep as if performing a sacred ceremony. They chose their final words before rest, as one would choose a prayer whispered into the void. For they knew that what is etched at that moment becomes truth with the rising Sunday. In the age of reason, humanity has forgotten this ritual. They collapse into sleep with noisy minds, carrying fragments of the past day, allowing them to recreate loops of suffering. Yet sometimes, in rare moments, someone hears a faint calling in the night, not from the outside, but from deep within the subconscious, where the soul still remembers that it once was the architect of dreams. When that call resounds, the Times Sleep Codex Times opens. The manuscript does not promise instant power. It only returns to humankind a forgotten knowledge that sleep is not emptiness, but the realm of creation. In that seemingly meaningless darkness, every thought, every emotion, every image we send down becomes the raw material of tomorrow. Like a weaver tightening the loom, dreams are not escapes from reality, but the frames upon which reality is woven. Every whispered affirmation, every quiet belief can become a net of light encircling the soul, preparing it for a new life. When this is understood, one's way of entering night begins to change. They no longer merely close their eyes, they begin to write. They cleanse the mind as they would wash the face, release all cluttered thoughts, and whisper affirmations as though lighting lamps in the dark. Not to beg, but to direct the current of inner energy. In the Codex, this moment is called Times the Covenant of Silence. Times the instant when the mind entrusts itself to the universe, like a sower trusting the soil. It is there that every wish begins to take shape. Many ask why sleep was chosen as the path. The answer is simple. When we sleep, all walls of reason dissolve. There is no resistance, no noise of thought, only pure receptivity. In that state, the subconscious becomes open as freshly turned earth, ready to receive any seed we plant. The affirmations, images, or emotions we nurture before sleep are those very seeds. And each morning, upon waking, we walk into the field we ourselves have sown. The Times Sleep Codex Times is not a book to be read, but a book to be lived. It is written in heartbeats, in breaths, in dreams and the memories of countless souls before us. It teaches that no barrier separates man from creative power, only forgetfulness. And sleep is the bridge that helps us remember. Each night, as we surrender to stillness, the soul is summoned home once more. Some have called sleep a little death, but in the language of the Codex, it is rebirth. For the only death here is the dissolution of the old beliefs, old fears, old stories we tell ourselves. When they fade into the dark, the new is allowed to enter. Thus, sleep is not an escape from the world, but the brave act of returning to the center of one's being. And when one begins to understand this ritual, daytime life transforms as well. They cease seeking outwardly, for they know that whatever appears in waking life was once written in dreams. They learn to speak to themselves in the language of light through gratitude, through trust, through unwavering faith in the soul's creative force. Night becomes the teacher, and sleep the altar where the sacred reveals itself. The Times, Sleep Codex Times, asks no one to believe, it simply invites. Each night, as you lie down, a new chapter awaits to be written. No ornate words are required, only a pure thought, a sincere feeling, an image of goodness. That is the line you carve upon the dream's page. And when morning comes, as sunlight spills through the window, you awaken not only into a new day, but into a new reality, one crafted by your own mind. Sleep has never been the shutting down of consciousness. It is the moment the universe bends low, listening to the message your soul sends forth. And the Times Sleep Codex Times teaches only one truth. Remain awake within your sleep, for it is in that stillness that the world is born anew. There exists a fragile moment that few ever notice, the instant between wakefulness and sleep. It lasts no longer than a few breaths, yet it serves as the gate linking two worlds. On one side lies the realm of reason, of numbers and calculations. On the other lies the gentle darkness, where all images dissolve, where the voice of the soul echoes like waves arriving from some ancient shore. The dream threshold is precisely that boundary where the mind ceases to be an instrument of thought and becomes an open field upon which every seed of creation can be sown. In that liminal state, we are no longer fully awake, yet not fully asleep. We stand at the crossroads, where consciousness meets the subconscious, where the seed and the soil find each other. As the light outside fades, the breath slows, the heartbeat softens, and thoughts begin to dissolve. That is when the gate of the dream threshold opens. In that instant, the mind vibrates at the theta frequency, a state mystics have long called the covenant state. It is the rare moment each day when one can easily commune with the subconscious self. The words, images, and emotions sent forth in this state are not resisted by logic. They pass directly into the deepest chambers of the soul, where they begin transforming into creative energy. In that very place, whatever we feel, even for a fleeting second, begins to take form. The ancient masters understood the power of this moment. They never entered sleep unconsciously. Before closing their eyes, they spoke words of affirmation, envisioning their lives as a flourishing garden. They did not plead or beg, they issued commands with the quiet certainty that the universe was listening. For they knew The subconscious does not distinguish between real and unreal. It only receives and recreates. If we plant fear within it, it will generate situations that make that fear real. But if we plant images of peace and prosperity, it will use all its invisible strength to manifest them into existence. The dream threshold is a land of power, but also of trial. For here, one faces oneself, no more roles, no more masks. Every true thought rises to the surface, impossible to hide. One who learns to cross the threshold wisely is one who has learned to guard the field of the mind. Each night, as we hover between waking and sleeping, we till that field anew. The seeds of today will sprout into tomorrow's life. Sow anxiety, and you shall reap turmoil. Sow love, and you shall reap serenity. In the mystical traditions of old, the dream threshold was likened to a stairway between the human world and the divine. Whoever could cross it without losing awareness could perform miracles. For in that moment, the line between imagination and reality vanishes. The mind becomes a living canvas upon which every image can imprint itself onto the energetic plane of existence. When one dwells in that state and envisions what they desire with complete emotion, they are not merely dreaming, they are reprogramming the vibrational web of their being. Modern science calls this times neuroplasticity, times the ability of the brain to reshape itself through imagery and emotion. But thousands of years ago, the keepers of ancient wisdom called it by another name. Asterisk, the art of dream, seeding. Asterisk, they believed sleep was not a passive fragment of life, but the active soil of creation. They built the ritual of crossing the dream threshold as though entering a temple. Every step carried meaning. Every breath was a silent prayer. They sat still, closed their eyes, surrendered their bodies to gravity, and just before drifting into sleep, they released their final command, an affirmation known as times the seed sentence. Asterisk, the seed sentence need not be long, only true. I am safe. I am guided. I am worthy of all that is good. I am the creator of my life. These simple phrases, when planted at the dream threshold, hold a 100-fold more power than when spoken in full wakefulness. For at that moment, the subconscious flings its gates wide open, ready to receive and preserve every sound, every vibration as an absolute decree. The field of the subconscious does not argue, does not reason, it only fulfills. It is like fertile soil, whatever is planted, it will grow. That is why those who fall asleep in fear or anger awaken weary and lost. They have nourished those emotions through the night. Conversely, those who enter sleep with gratitude, peace, and faith in the good rise at dawn as if reborn, not because of a miracle, but because of law. Wherever love tends the ground, flowers will bloom. Imagine that every night is a harvest, every sleep a sowing. Once this is understood, one no longer sees sleep as an accessory to life, but as its central right. They learn to prepare for sleep as for a sacred ceremony. The lights grow dim, sounds fade. The mind is cleansed of noise. They choose images, not random ones, but deliberate. They see themselves calm, their work flowing smoothly, their relationships in harmony, and they do not visualize superficially. They times feel, times it, letting emotions spread like fragrance. That very emotion becomes the water that nourishes the subconscious seed. The dream threshold is the bridge between the one becoming and the one who has become. To cross it requires awareness. Without it, we are mere sleepers. Drifting through dreams the unconscious creates. But with awareness, we become dream creators, and through that, creators of reality. To understand and master the instant between wakefulness and sleep is to gain not only control of dreams, but mastery over life itself. And then, when night folds itself around us, when breath merges with darkness, a single, pure thought held steadfast will become a signal rippling through the layers of the subconscious. The inner field awakens. Cells, electric pulses, subtle currents begin to move as though the universe itself were working on your behalf. By morning, when your eyes open, what you planted is no longer mere thought. It has already begun to take form. The dream threshold is a gift life grants humanity each night, yet only those who receive it consciously truly enter. For sleep is not merely rest. It is the path home where the soul reclaims its primal creative power. Each night, that gate still stands open, waiting for those silent enough to cross to hear the whisper of the universe saying, "You are the dreamer, and the world awaits you to dream it into reality." There was a village nestled in a valley of mist, where people believed that dreams could sprout into reality if sown at the right time and in the right way. In that village lived a seamstress named Elelena, who one day discovered an old leather notebook in her grandmother's dusty attic. Its yellowed pages contained no teachings, only rituals, the ritual of sowing seeds for the future. Every page began with the same line, asterisk, "When I lay my head upon the pillow," asterisk. It was not merely the prelude to a habit, but an invocation of an ancient art. Elelena read those lines with curiosity and gradually realized that her grandmother had not been an ordinary seamstress. She was someone who knew how to speak with the subconscious. On the first night she tried the ritual, the room was so still that she could hear her own heartbeat. Elelena placed her hand upon her chest and whispered 3 things she was grateful for, 3 things she could genuinely feel in that very moment: a warm roof, skillful hands, and the gift of breath still flowing within her. Then she spoke 3 affirmations, the seeds for tomorrow. She did not wish times for them. She spoke them as if they were already true. "I am expanding my sewing workshop. Those who come to me bring joy. Every stitch I make creates blessings." The words were light as air, yet as she drifted into sleep, the subconscious began recording every vibration, every sincere feeling. In the days that followed, strange things began to unfold. Everything in her workshop seemed to flow more smoothly. Old customers returned, bringing new ones along. A merchant passing through the village noticed a shirt Elelena had sewn for a child and placed an order for dozens more. There was no miracle, only the movement of energy she had planted. That night's sleep had become the springtime of her soul, where kind thoughts germinated in darkness and blossomed into reality with the dawn. Elelena's story is not a legend, but a demonstration of the law by which the subconscious operates. When one enters sleep in gratitude, the mind shifts from conscious waves to theta waves, the realm between dream and reality. In that space, every word becomes a command, every emotion a seed. And whoever sows with love shall reap with abundance. For the subconscious does not judge it, only carries out. It does not understand I want, only I am. That was the key Elelena found within her grandmother's book. In another town lived a baker named Marcus. He had once been the pride of his village, but harsh seasons had drained his faith. His bread grew worse, his customers fewer, and his mind was filled with anxiety. One night, as he sat staring at his cooling oven, Marcus recalled an old saying from his father, asterisk, "Bread needs time to rise in darkness, just as dreams need time to ripen in sleep." Asterisk. For the first time in years, he decided to sow seeds again, this time within his mind. Before sleeping, Marcus did not think of debts or failures. He closed his eyes and envisioned the oven glowing, the scent of bread spreading through the air, people smiling as they received golden loaves. He did not try to believe. He simply felt as if it were already happening. Then he drifted into sleep, letting that image repeat itself until his breath matched the rhythm of his heart. The next morning, he awoke earlier than usual, feeling light, and was suddenly inspired to try an old recipe he had once abandoned. This time, the bread rose perfectly, the crust crisp, the aroma enchanting the entire village. Within weeks, Marcus's bakery was thriving again. It was not luck, it was the shift of frequency he created each night. Elena and Marcus, two ordinary people, had both touched the same principle. The subconscious is the soil, and sleep is the season of planting. What they sowed were not merely words, but feelings, trust, and vivid imagery. This is the very times, ritual of sowing times, the ancient sages called asterisk, the prayer of night. Asterisk, not a prayer sent upward, but one sent inward. Not a plea to the gods, but a conversation with the soul itself. This ritual requires no candles, no incense, only honesty. Before sleep, take a moment to thank what already is, for gratitude opens the gate through which positive energy flows. Then, sow 3 new seeds, 3 ideas you wish to see bloom in your life. Speak them as though they have already come true. Feel them as though they are unfolding right now. Then be silent. It is in that silence that the universe receives your words. And through the night, layers of energy begin to reweave the structure of reality around you. Some ask how something as small as a single affirmation can create such great change. The answer lies in the law of correspondence. Every thought carries a frequency. When you say, "I am at peace," that vibration resonates within the subconscious, spreading through the body, adjusting hormones, heartbeat, and breath, then expanding into the energetic field surrounding you. The world responds with circumstances of matching frequency. Thus, the ritual of sowing is not merely a spiritual act, it is the operation of energy itself. If Elena used words as seeds, and Marcus used imagery as water to nourish them, both practiced the same art, to sow and to trust. They did not try to control the outcome, they simply held on to their good feelings as one would cradle a flame. And each night, as they closed their eyes, they handed that flame to the subconscious, the most faithful gardener of the soul. In the morning, they awoke to a new field, where the seeds of the night had already begun to sprout. To the outside eye, this ritual may appear simple, unremarkable, but in its deeper layer, it is the union between human and universe, between the humble act of a person and the vast response of unseen energy. When one listens to themselves before sleep, they are already speaking to the whole, and when they sow with faith, they open the gate to the future. Every night is a beginning. Every sleep is a season of planting. What matters is not how long you sleep, but in what state you sleep. Sleep carried by fear will only nurture anxiety. Sleep carried by gratitude will give birth to miracles. Between 2 sleepers, one dreams of storms, another of sunrise. The difference lies in the seeds they choose to plant. Elena and Marcus proved that magic does not dwell outside us, but in the humble ritual repeated each night. When darkness falls, remember you too have your own book. No paper or ink is needed, only your heart. Be thankful for what already exists, then plant within the night 3 of your finest seeds. Then stay silent and let sleep do the rest. For each morning when you awaken, not only does the sun rise, your future too is beginning to bloom. Since the first civilizations, humanity has believed in the power of writing. Each letter, they said, is a living being, carrying the frequency of its writer and the vow of the soul. When the pen touches the page, it is not merely the movement of a hand, it is the union of consciousness and energy. In the Times Sleep Codex Asterisk, there is a ritual known as Asterisk, the script beneath the pillow. Asterisk, an ancient method for connecting the two worlds of the mind through the simplest act, writing down a wish and placing it under the pillow before sleep. Not to ask, but to entrust. Not to remind, but to connect. This ritual begins with a profound principle. The subconscious does not understand the language of logic, but it understands symbols, and writing is the highest symbol of intention. When you write down a wish, the mind must focus on it, imagine it, feel it as if it already exists. That process itself is the first transformation from a vague thought into a tangible form. Then, when the paper is placed beneath the pillow, it becomes a physical seed resting directly under the head, the very place where consciousness is about to descend into the subconscious. Through the night, as you sleep, the distance between these two realms fades, and the energy of the words begins to seep into the deepest layers of the soul. The ancient keepers of wisdom called this asterisk, the ritual of signing with oneself. Asterisk. Writing a wish, they said, is not a plea but a contract, an agreement between the conscious and subconscious minds. As your hand writes, you are telling the deeper self, this is what I choose to believe. This is where my energy shall flow, and the subconscious, loyal like a gardener, begins to cultivate that seed. It does not ask when or how, it only carries out. It is the certainty of the act of writing that changes the way the mind responds to reality. In the old Eastern temples, monks would write their wishes on gold leaves or small slips of paper and place them beneath their pillows on full moon nights. They believed that the moonlight activated the energy of the script, for the moon was the symbol of the subconscious, the mirror of the soul. They slept in silence, without waiting, without expecting. At dawn, they would burn the paper in a small fire as a ritual of returning the promise to the universe. In this way, their intention was sent not through words but through vibration. There is a tale of a young woman named Lyra who wrote every night before sleep. Each page she filled contained only one sentence. Asterisk, I am surrounded by peace. Asterisk. She wrote it faithfully through months of hardship, when her life was clouded with uncertainty. Each night, she folded the paper, placed it beneath her pillow, and took a deep breath. Gradually, she found herself sleeping more easily, waking more calmly. After a year, when she reread her old notes, she realized her life had quietly changed course. No more panic, no more running. Everything flowed with a quiet ease. Not because of magic, but because each night she had entrusted her soul to a new frequency. Modern science might call this asterisk sleep programming. Asterisk. When you write, the brain activates both the centers of imagination and emotion, forming a powerful bridge between consciousness and the subconscious. Placing the paper beneath the pillow is symbolic, yet it has deep psychological effect. It convinces the mind that the command has been delivered, and once belief is established, the entire nervous system, hormonal balance, and bioenergy align to support that belief. The mind ceases to resist and becomes a unified current moving toward a single outcome. In Western esoteric traditions, the paper beneath the pillow is seen as a asterisk material bridge, asterisk the physical body of the prayer. Like planting a seed in the soil, when you write, you give form to an idea. It is no longer a cloud of thought, but a tangible presence in space. And When it rests closest to you in sleep, your energy and the energy of intention merge. Those who practice long enough say their dreams often change. They become clearer, brighter, as if the subconscious is responding to the conscious invitation. The most important element of this ritual is not technique, but state of mind. Write with trust, not desire, for desire implies lack, while trust implies possession. When you write, "I am being healed," feel the healing already happening. When you write, "I am encountering goodness," smile as though it has already arrived. The subconscious responds only to the energy of feeling, not the literal words. Thus, language is merely the tool. Emotion is the current that carries the command. After writing, do not reread too often. Fold the paper as one would fold a prayer, place it beneath your pillow, and let sleep complete the rest. During the night, as the brain enters theta and delta states, the gate between the two worlds opens. The paper lies still in darkness, but its energy moves. The subconscious reads it not with eyes, but with frequency. The letters are no longer letters, they are instructions. And by morning, when you open your eyes, a new version of yourself has already been programmed. You have not become someone else, you have begun to become who your soul has always known you to be. Those who understand the ritual of the script beneath the pillow never see writing as a small act. They know that every stroke of the pen is a heartbeat, every word a ray of light, and every night a chance to renew reality. When they write, they turn off every device, sit under a gentle light, breathe deeply, and let their hand move freely with emotion. They do not edit, they do not analyze, they let the energy flow. For they know the subconscious does not need beautiful words, it needs truth. If there is one thing to remember, it is this. Write as if you are giving the universe its assignment, and sleep as if you trust that the universe is already working for you. When consciousness releases control, the subconscious begins to act. When you stop forcing, energy begins to arrange. And each morning as you wake, you are not merely stepping into a new day, you are stepping onto a higher rung of your own becoming. The script beneath the pillow is not sorcery, it is the art of trust. Every line you write becomes a bridge between two worlds, where consciousness sends its message to the subconscious, where the soul sends its signal to the universe. Do not see it as mysticism, but as the simplest truth of spirit. When one aligns with what they believe, the world begins to reflect it back. And tonight, if you write down a wish, place it beneath your pillow and rest peacefully. For on the other side of your dream, those drops of ink are turning into tiny stars, illuminating the path you are about to walk. In every spiritual tradition, the mirror has always been seen as a portal. It reflects the outer world, but also reveals the inner one, the world few dare to face. The mirror of the day belongs to images, the mirror of the night belongs to the soul. When the light softens and the room grows as still as breath, the mirror becomes the keeper of secrets between consciousness and the subconscious. The ancients called it times the night mirror, times a place where one could converse with the essence of oneself in a language beyond words. For every whisper we send into the mirror in silence is reflected back into the depths of the soul. The ritual of the night mirror was born from the understanding that between a person and reality exists a reflective bond. Whatever we feel about ourselves, the universe returns through matching circumstances. If we view ourselves with disdain, the world will reflect rejection. If we see ourselves with love, the world responds with opportunity, with gentle eyes from others, with doors that open naturally. For this reason, those who practice sacred sleep use the mirror as a tool to teach the subconscious the art of self-love, the first and last love the soul must learn. Before entering sleep, they would stand before the mirror in the soft dark candlelight or moonlight, resting on its surface like a pale mist. They did not look to inspect, but to meet the old friend who had been waiting in silence. They touched the mirror's surface, inhaled deeply, and whispered words light as breath. I see you. I forgive you. I love you. There was no need to speak aloud, for the subconscious does not listen with ears, it listens through vibration. A single honest heartbeat carries those words through the walls of reason, reaching the deep place where old wounds lie still. To the subconscious, self-love is not an abstract concept, but an energetic signal. When you say, I love you, the cells of the body respond like children being soothed. The nervous system recalibrates, the breath deepens, the heartbeat steadies, and a cascade of peaceful hormones begins to flow. This is the science of self-love, the biological response when the mind accepts itself. On the mystical level, it is the love song the soul sings to its own reflection, the inner lullaby that cradles you into sleep like the embrace of the cosmic mother. The ancients believed that when we sleep in a state of self-love, dreams become transparent. The subconscious no longer hides or resists. It returns to its pure, creative nature. In that night, every image and every sound becomes tender. Nightmares melt into flowing water. Sorrowful dreams turn into skies of stars. When one learns to hold oneself gently, the inner world heals and the outer world begins to change color. There was once a woman who practiced this ritual for 40 consecutive nights. Her name was Mila, and she lived in solitude after a great loss. Each night she stood before the mirror and spoke only 3 sentences. I forgive, I accept, I am complete. At first her voice trembled, her eyes wet, and the mirror seemed to blur with mist. But by the 20th night, the reflection grew clearer. Her face softened, her voice steadied. By the 40th, she smiled a true smile, the first in years. From that night on, sleep was no longer her escape, but her homecoming. She later said that each morning she awoke with the feeling that someone had been singing beside her all night, a wordless melody, warm and near, like the breath of life itself. That is the subconscious love song. When one loves oneself deeply enough, the subconscious begins to sing along. Its song seeps into sleep, harmonizing the heartbeat, balancing the flow of energy, sending waves of reconciliation to every fragment of the soul. Suppressed memories, misunderstood fears, self-blame carved deep, all are soothed, not by logic but by melody. As a mother soothes a child, the subconscious sings the mind to rest, so that in the morning when you open your eyes, you rise with a new energy, the energy of acceptance. Those who understand the law of the night mirror do not seek miracles, they create them through gentleness. They know that all reality is a reflection of the inner state. If life is to change, one must first change how one sees oneself. For the universe behaves as a great mirror. When you smile in love, it smiles back. When you believe you are worthy, doors begin to open. There is no need to beg, no need to prove, only to love, as naturally as breathing. Within this ritual lies an unspoken rule. Never look into the mirror to judge. The night mirror is not a place for finding flaws, but for remembering light. Every wrinkle, every scar, every shadow beneath the eyes is a mark of the journey, proof of endurance. When you look upon them with love, they become symbols of life rather than imperfections. The subconscious records that image, preserves it as a new template, and from then on you begin to feel more beautiful, more confident, more radiant, not because the outer form has changed, but because the frequency has. Before sleep, after you have written your wish and placed it beneath your pillow, go to the mirror. You need not linger only a minute of silence. Look deeply into your eyes without letting the mind judge or memories intrude. Then speak the words, you once wished to hear from others. I am proud of you. You've done well. You deserve love. Emotions may surge, tears may fall. That is the sign the subconscious is opening. Let the tears wash away old refusals and leave space for the new to bloom. Then, in the quiet of night, gently touch the mirror, as though touching your own heart. Whisper a good night blessing, not just for the body, but for the soul. For when you sleep in love, dreams cease to be lonely journeys. They become a symphony of the whole, where you, the subconscious, and the universe sing the same melody. And when the first light brushes your eyelids in the morning, remember, miracles do not come from without. They begin in the moment you choose to love yourself a little more, to look into the mirror without turning away. The night mirror and the inner lullaby are not merely rituals of healing. They are acts affirming the sacred existence of being human. Each loving gaze into the mirror is a declaration to the universe that you are ready to live in your purest light. And when the subconscious hears that love song, it responds with deeper sleep, with peace blooming in the heart, and with mornings so radiant that you know you have become the light, reflecting the very love you once sought. Among the remaining maps of ancient Eastern mysticism, one symbol appears again and again: a sun rising above the ocean and a human figure stepping out from the mist. This symbol was called times the map of dawn, times the image of the soul after sleep, carrying the message it has just received from the dream realm. The ancients believed that each night, as humans sink into sleep, the soul departs from the shell of consciousness to journey through the realms of the unconscious, to learn, to observe, and to bring back invisible fragments of memory. Yet most people forget these messages upon waking. The map of dawn was created to help humans read those messages again and transform dreams into a compass guiding their lives. They called this art times dream inquiry times, an ancient ritual in which one asks a question before sleep and allows the subconscious to answer through dreams. For the subconscious does not speak in language. It speaks in images, in symbols, in emotion. When one knows how to ask, the dream will answer. When one knows how to listen, the dream will guide. Not everyone can do this immediately, for to receive the answer, the mind must be still enough, sincere enough, and trusting enough in its inner wisdom. The ritual begins with centering. Before sleep, turn off all lights, take a deep breath, and hold the question clearly in mind, not as a plea, but as the curiosity of the soul. For example, what path will help me grow? What must I release to be lighter? Or what awaits me in the near future? When such a question is sown sincerely, it becomes a signal passing through the conscious layer, slipping through the mist of reason, and falling into the deep region of the subconscious, where the invisible currents of energy flow. At night, as the body rests, the gates of dream open, and the answer begins to take form. It may appear as a fleeting image, a stranger's face, an animal, a road, or an event that seems meaningless. But for those who know the ritual, no dream is random. Every symbol is a clue the subconscious sends upward. The serpent may signify rebirth, the boat transformation, the door opportunity, and light a new understanding. All are expressions of the soul's private language. Upon waking, the first task is not to rise, but to remain still and recall. Every detail, however small, is a fragment of the map of dawn. Pay attention to feeling joy, fear, peace, or confusion, for emotion is the color of the message. Then write it down. Do not analyze yet, simply record. Writing transfers the message from the unconscious to the conscious, making it clearer. When you look back on these dreams after many days, you will notice an invisible thread weaving them together, revealing the direction your soul wishes to take. In a temple hidden among the Himalayas, ancient scholars once kept a collection known as Times, the Chronicles of Morning Light, **. Each person, upon waking, was asked to record their dream. Over time, they discovered that the dreams were not isolated, but gradually merged into one great story. Lessons, warnings, and intuitions appeared in cycles, as if an unseen hand were guiding them along a shared path. Through this practice, they avoided many dangers, found answers to complex problems, and lived in deeper harmony with the flow of the universe. There is a legend about the last guardian of that temple, an old man named Sarah, who once dreamt he was standing in a desert before a massive mirror reflecting the face of his younger self. When he awoke, he understood that the dream was not about age, but about returning to essence. The next morning, he left the temple, crossed the lands he had long feared, and found the old spring from his childhood. The dream had guided him not through logic, but through symbol. That is the power of dream inquiry, the guidance of the unconscious mind's wisdom. For modern people, dream inquiry is no longer a religious rite, but a profound spiritual practice. In the noise of the world, humans rarely hear their inner voice. They seek answers outside, in books, in others, in data, forgetting there is a teacher within them. The subconscious. Dream inquiry is the way back to that teacher. When one asks before sleep, they cease to be a wanderer in darkness and become a pilgrim with a compass, and that compass is not held in the hand, but in the heart. For dreams to become a map, one more element is needed: reverence. Treat each dream as sacred, no matter how strange or frightening. Sometimes the subconscious uses intense imagery to emphasize what we avoid. A dream of falling from a cliff may reveal excessive control. A dream of losing one's way may be a call to release old plans. When we understand this language, we cease fearing dreams and begin conversing with them as friends. Many who practice dream inquiry also keep a Times morning journal, Times recording not only the dream but the emotion upon waking. After months, they notice uncanny correspondences between dream and reality. A dream of the sea precedes a fateful meeting. A dream of heavy rain comes on the day they need to cleanse their heart. Such details are not coincidence, they are how the universe responds. Dreams are the most primal language of energy, a form of communication beyond words, where every message is transmitted through image. Dream inquiry requires no blind belief, only openness. The closed mind will never hear the whispers of the unconscious, but those who listen in stillness will find their dreams gradually clarifying, their meanings unfolding in subtle ways. Sometimes it is only a feeling, a gaze, or a lingering song. Upon waking, all of it arrives with purpose. With regular practice, you will come to see that every dream is a point of light on the map of dawn. They connect to reveal paths, warn of wrong turns, and open new doors. Most importantly, they remind you that life does not exist on one plane of consciousness. There is an entire ocean of the unconscious at work, and each time you sleep, you dive into it to retrieve a pearl of understanding. The map of dawn is not drawn on paper, but within the memory of each morning. It is painted by dreams, colored by emotion, and completed by trust. The trust that the soul knows its way. When you learn the art of dream inquiry, you no longer live blindly. You live as one who is guided. And one day, upon waking from deep sleep, you will feel a quiet certainty in your heart that you are on the right path. That last night's dream was not mere fantasy, but a message from the dawn itself, softly whispering the way your heart has always known. Since ancient times, practitioners of sacred sleep have believed that dreams are not merely reflections of the mind, but parallel worlds where the soul temporarily enters to practice its creative power. In that realm, one can fly, heal, meet the departed, or glimpse the future. Everything within a dream is fluid, bending to the dreamer's will. The ancients called this the times art of dream weaving times today. We call it asterisk, lucid dreaming, asterisk. The state in which one becomes aware while dreaming and realizes, I am dreaming. At its deepest level, this is not simply a psychological phenomenon, but a spiritual training ground, the process of learning to create reality through the mastery of consciousness itself. Imagine a vast, endless loom. The horizontal threads are consciousness, the vertical threads are the subconscious. Each time you fall into a dream and realize you are dreaming, you become the weaver. You may choose the colors, the threads, the rhythm. Every image you shape, every emotion you feel becomes a new strand woven into the fabric of your soul. And strangely, upon waking, a small portion of that fabric, the emotions, the memories, the vibrational frequencies, is imprinted into physical reality. That is why those who have long practiced lucid dreaming often radiate a calm, grounded serenity. They have learned to govern their inner world and thus are no longer governed by the outer one. Lucid dreaming does not arrive overnight. It is the fruit of awareness. First, the dream weaver must cultivate the habit of recalling dreams each morning. Only when you remember can you begin to discern what is dream and what is real. Then one night, while drifting within a scene, you suddenly pause and realize, asterisk, I'm dreaming. Asterisk. In that instant, a door opens, the world turns transparent, everything around you brightens, and you understand that you can create anything. You fly, touch the clouds, change the color of the sky, or call someone's name. And at that moment, something extraordinary happens. The subconscious begins recording the sensations of success, joy, and freedom as if they were real. The brain reacts exactly as it would if the experience had occurred in waking life, meaning that in the dream you are already reweaving the structure of your reality. There was once a man named Chester who was so afraid of crowds that he could not speak before people, but he learned of the art of dream weaving. Each night, within lucid dreams, he created grand auditoriums filled with light, standing on stage to speak to thousands amid applause. At first, the dreams were shaky, the images blurred, but gradually they became vivid, lifelike. After several weeks, his fear dissolved. When he finally stood before a real audience, his body and mind responded as they had in the dream, confident, calm, and full of energy. The dream had become the training hall of his soul, and his waking life became the print of those nights. Lucid dreaming is not a game of the mind, but a tool of transformation. In that state, the dreamer is free to experiment with all aspects of the self without the chains of limitation. Anyone who has flown in a dream knows the feeling. Light, exalted, sovereign. Upon waking, the subconscious retains the memory of that freedom. And when that memory is imprinted into the nervous system, your body and energy begin to act accordingly, more confident, more creative, less fearful. You have rewoven the architecture of your belief. The ancients called lucid dreams the school of the soul. Within them, every scene is a lesson, every symbol a code. When you become aware that you are dreaming, you can ask the dream itself, what do you wish to teach me? Or what must I know to move forward? The answer never comes in words, but in symbols, a door opening, a bird taking flight, a hand upon your shoulder. These are the languages of the unconscious, and when you record them upon waking, you will find within them the guidance no teacher could give. Lucid dreaming is also the deepest form of healing, for there you may encounter the forgotten parts of yourself. Many have used lucid dreams to embrace their inner child, to forgive the departed, or to touch the light of a fragmented soul. When you do this in a dream, emotional energy is restored, spiritual wounds are decoded, and the body responds with relief. That is why, after a night of true dream weaving, people often awaken with warm eyes and an open heart, as if returning from a sacred place. To begin this art, practitioners often start with a simple ritual. Before sleep, they sit still, place a hand over the heart, and repeat inwardly, "When I dream, I know I am dreaming." This phrase is like the first needle's mark, setting the path of the thread on the loom of the dream. They imagine a small light glowing in the mind, a lantern that will guide them when the dream unfolds. And as night falls in that hazy moment between waking and sleep, they carry this intention within. One night, 2 nights, then suddenly the dream becomes lucid. For the first time, they realize they are not swept along, but steering the current. And that is when the first thread of reality is rewoven. The fascinating thing is that when lucid dreaming becomes a habit, the boundary between dream and waking life begins to blur. The dream weaver discovers that, just like in dreams, the outer world also responds to belief and emotion. As they learn to change their dreams, they simultaneously learn to change their reality. Every event, every person is but an image projected from consciousness. Dreams are no longer seen as illusions, but as purer versions of reality realms where thought manifests instantly. Thus, they live more awake, observing every idea they release, knowing that each thought is a thread being woven into tomorrow's fabric. The loom of the dream weaver does not exist in the physical world, but in the realm of consciousness. It moves with the rhythm of breath, with the strength of imagination and emotion. When you sleep, you do not leave the world. You step into the workshop beyond, where the soul tirelessly weaves the next reality. Each dream is a current of energy, each emotion a color, and each intention a pattern. The entire universe, in truth, is but a vast tapestry woven from countless intersecting dreams. So, if one night you realize you are dreaming, do not rush to wake. Pause, take a deep breath, and smile. Touch the air, feel the weight of your feet upon the dream ground, and ask yourself, if I can create here, why not out there? When you awaken with that question in your heart, your life begins to change. Every action grows more conscious. Every day becomes a new cloth upon which to continue weaving the dream. For the one who knows how to weave dreams also knows how to live. And when a person lives with the same awareness, love, and imagination they hold in dreams, the boundary between dream and reality dissolves, leaving only one infinite fabric, forever being woven by the hands of souls who know they are the weavers of the universe. In the journey of sleep, nothing is meaningless. Even the long, restless nights when thoughts whirl and the eyes stare wide at the ceiling are not mistakes. In the language of the soul, insomnia is not malfunction, but message. It is the messenger of unaccepted energies, the voice of the mind struggling against itself. The ancients called this phenomenon asterisk, the night of the gatekeeper, asterisk, the moment when the subconscious sends signals upward, forcing the conscious mind to pause and listen. And if one knows how to face it, that night can become the most profound ritual of inner peace in a lifetime. Insomnia rarely comes from lack of sleep, it comes from excess resistance. When we carry within us worry, anger, regret, or fear that has not been understood, the energy cannot dissolve. It lingers between consciousness and the subconscious like a thick cloud. When the body wishes to rest, the mind shouts because it still wants control. Sleep cannot arrive, for the two forces within pull in opposite directions. But instead of seeing it as an enemy, see it as an inevitable meeting. For only when darkness is not chased away but faced directly does it turn to light. In an ancient Western ritual, whenever someone suffered many sleepless nights, the masters did not give them sleeping potions, they gave them a candle. They said, "Sit with the night." When the person sat down and watched the flickering flame, their breath began to slow. The light did not lure them into fear, nor did it force them to sleep. It only illuminated. In that golden dimness, the sleepless one was guided to place a hand over the heart and ask, What do you need me to hear? That simple question opened the gate of the subconscious. Old memories, unspoken words, buried emotions rose to the surface. Sometimes tears came, sometimes faint memories of old wounds reappeared. And in that very moment, the process of release began. The release of resistance does not mean fighting insomnia. It means accepting it as a ritual. Instead of trying to silence the mind, listen to it gently. When you stop forcing yourself to sleep, the body will know how to rest. When you stop running, the darkness will know how to fade. In spiritual philosophy, sleep is compared to flowing water and insomnia to a rock blocking the stream. The more you push, the more turbulent it becomes. Only when you stop pushing does the current find its way around. Imagine each thought as a small being knocking at your door. Every time you worry or grow angry, it means a part of you is asking to be acknowledged. When you listen without argument or judgment, it dissolves. But if you try to drive it away, it knocks harder and you stay awake. Thus, the ritual of reconciliation begins with one admission. Asterisk. I am sleepless, and that's all right. Asterisk. When you say this within, the waves of energy immediately change direction. You are no longer fighting the night, you are beginning to converse with it. A merchant named Walter once endured endless haunted nights. He believed himself ill, but no medicine helped him sleep, until he met an old woman living in the forest. She said, "It's not that you cannot sleep, it's that you are being called to awaken." That night, she showed him how to sit in silence, place a hand on his heart, and whisper, "I am listening." In the darkness, memories from childhood flooded back things he had buried deep below. He wept. He spoke words of forgiveness to himself. And for the first time in years, when he stopped trying, sleep came not as surrender, but as the reward of peace. Walter's story is not rare. Many who experience insomnia are standing at the threshold of a new level of awareness. When the subconscious begins restructuring itself, the conscious mind resists, creating tension. But if one understands that this is a signal of transformation, fear dissolves. Sleep then ceases to be a goal and becomes a natural consequence of calm. There was an exercise in the Times Book of Night Times used by the ancient Egyptian monks. Whenever they struggled to sleep, they would not toss or count numbers. They would begin naming each emotion. I am afraid. I am sad. I am angry. And after each sentence they added, and I accept that. They continued until the emotions lost their weight. This very act calmed the nervous system, released blocked energy, and reopened the path for natural sleep. For acceptance is the strongest medicine a human can give to oneself. If insomnia is the messenger, then the ritual of reconciliation is the reply. You may begin by cleansing the space around you. Turn off harsh lights, light a candle or a stick of incense. Sit still, no phone, no music, no effort to think positive thoughts. Just observe. Inhale, feel the breath move through your body. Exhale, release a layer of heaviness. Let the mind speak, then let silence answer. You may not sleep that night, but as you repeat this each evening, the body will remember. And one night, without warning, you will find yourself asleep peacefully without effort. Spiritual teachers call this asterisk the night's turning point. Asterisk the moment when consciousness releases and the subconscious opens. Insomnia is the first lesson in learning how to let go. No one can force themselves into sleep, just as no one can force a flower to bloom. One can only create the conditions for the natural to occur. When you learn this lesson, you regain not only sleep, but also harmony with yourself. Each night before bed, see the darkness as a visiting friend. Say to it, if you wish to talk, I am here to listen. If you wish me to rest, I will rest. When you accept both possibilities, the energy of resistance dissolves. And in that very instant, Sleep begins to drift in quiet, unforced, like water seeping through sand. And one day, you will realize that the sleepless nights you once feared have actually saved you. For in those very nights, you learned the lessons of surrender, of listening, of peace. Deep sleep is no longer a gift for the lucky, but the reward for those who live gently with themselves. Then insomnia is no longer the enemy, but the teacher in a dark robe. When it arrives, you no longer fear it. You smile, knowing something within you is being realigned. You light a candle, place your hand on your heart, and whisper, "I hear you and I thank you." In that moment, resistance dissolves and the night grows tender as a mother's arms. Sleep comes not to make you forget, but to help you be reborn. And when dawn returns, you will understand something profound. Every sleepless night was a journey of awakening, and every sleep that follows is a sacred reconciliation between you and the universe itself. Since the time when humans lived under open skies, the moon has been the clock of the soul. It does not merely light the night, it governs the rhythm of the tides, the body, and the mind. Ancient mystics called the moon the breath of the universe. For each time it waxes or wanes, human energy shifts with it. And if one learns to flow with this cycle, sleep ceases to be random, it becomes ritual, a sacred alignment with the cosmic rhythm. They called this the times, temple of sleep times, where every night is a sacred ceremony, and every dream a prayer programmed in harmony with the lunar pulse. The new moon is the time of beginnings. When the sky is darkest and the moon unseen, energy within the human being sinks to its deepest point. The ancients considered this the perfect moment for sowing seeds, not seeds of earth, but seeds of intention. Before sleeping on new moon nights, they did not pray and request, but wrote down what they wished to initiate: a project, a change, an inner awakening. Then they placed the note by the bedside, took a deep breath, and closed their eyes. In the darkness, the subconscious received the words like fertile soil receiving a seed. The sleep of the new moon is the sleep of creation, dim, quiet, but full of potential. Then the moon begins to grow crescent, half moon. This is the phase of action and accumulation of energy. In these nights, practitioners did not merely sleep, they envisioned. They formed within their minds the images of what they were building. If the new moon is the seed, the waxing moon is the sprout. Sleep during this phase is often vivid, dynamic, filled with dreams of movement and color, as if streams of energy were weaving together. The subconscious grows creative, constructing and experimenting, preparing for the fullness to come. Then arrives the full moon, when light reaches its peak and everything is revealed. This is the night of manifestation. The ancients believed that during the full moon, the veil between consciousness and the subconscious grows thin. Thus, they often performed sleep rituals under moonlight. They would cleanse their rooms, open the windows so the light could touch the pillow, and meditate for a few minutes before sleeping. The silver glow seeped through the eyelids, awakening the deepest layers of emotion. If the new moon is the beginning, the full moon is illumination. This is when the subconscious sends back its answers, when what was sown has ripened and reveals itself. Many claim to have prophetic dreams under the full moon, not by chance, but because their consciousness had tuned itself to the universe's frequency. After fullness, the moon wanes the phase of release. This is when the practitioner sleeps as an act of purification. Before bed, they wrote down what they wished to let go of: fear, an old love, a lingering grief, a binding pattern. They read the words once, then burned the paper, letting the ashes drift out the window. The sleep of the waning moon is the sleep of cleansing. The subconscious is no longer building but dismantling. Dreams in this time can be strange, chaotic, even wake one in the middle of the night, yet that is precisely when old energy is being released. By dawn, one wakes lighter, as though an invisible burden has been shed. The entire lunar cycle, from new to full to waning, mirrors life itself. When a person learns to program sleep according to the moon, they synchronize with the greater movements of nature. Each night becomes a step in the cosmic rhythm. Through the month, they begin, nurture, manifest, and release continuously, effortlessly, naturally. Sleep thus ceases to be a passive act and becomes a temple where the soul communes with the heartbeat of the universe. The architecture of this temple of sleep reflects the same philosophy. The ancients believed that the sleeping space was an extension of the mind, so they designed it as a sacred environment. The bed was not merely a place to rest, but an altar where wakefulness and surrender were both offerings. They placed gentle symbols nearby, a bowl of clear water, a flower, a stone, or a piece of white cloth. Each represented an element: water for emotion, flower for life, stone for stability, and cloth for the veil between worlds. The light was soft, the fragrance subtle, the sounds low, for they knew that when the body sleeps, the soul requires a peaceful sanctuary to return to. Modern people might see this as romantic or mythical, but new studies in neuroscience and energy show that the sleep environment directly affects the quality of dreams. Blue light disrupts melatonin, lavender scent calms the nervous system, and sounds of waves or wind synchronize the heart and breath. What the ancients called a temple was, in truth, the art of energy design. When every surrounding element aligns with the frequency of serenity, sleep becomes a ritual of rebirth. Each night, the practitioner may choose a small ceremony, burn incense at the new moon, write a dream journal at the full moon, bathe in cleansing water at the waning moon. There are no rigid rules, only rhythm, for the essence of lunar programming lies in sensitivity to motion. As the moon changes, so do we. When one learns to live within that rhythm, one no longer clings to constancy but embraces the cyclical nature of all things: birth, growth, fullness, decline, and renewal. Someone once asked why the moon is so closely linked to sleep. Because both belong to the night, not the night of loss, but the night of germination. Sleep is the darkness of the body. The moon is the darkness of the cosmos. When these two rhythms align, humanity returns to its primal source, where light and darkness do not oppose but nurture each other. Therefore, see your sleeping space as a temple. Do not bring chaos, argument, or tension into it. Let it contain only gentle frequencies: gratitude, blessing, slow breath. Let the moonlight touch your curtains. Let the scent of incense remind you that night too is sacred ceremony. And each time you lie down, remember that you rest in the arms of the lunar rhythm, the heartbeat of the universe. For when you sleep in harmony with the phases of the moon, you live in harmony with the pulse of the cosmos itself. Each night, the moon not only lights the sky, but illuminates the depths within you. It teaches that there is a time to begin, a time to shine, and a time to release. And once you understand this, you will no longer fear the night or resist change. For within every sleep, you will know that you are being carried by an ancient rhythm, the eternal lunar breath, where sleep and soul breathe together in a sacred, tender, and everlasting cycle. There is a moment in each day when the boundary between two worlds becomes as thin as breath twilight, when the light no longer belongs to day and the darkness has not yet become night. The ancients called this the hour of the soul, while the sages named it the gap of reality. For in twilight, the mind falls into an in-between state where consciousness begins to release, but the subconscious has not yet slept. There, everything seems silent, yet within that silence, the universe speaks. The whisper of twilight is the subtlest voice a human can hear, not with the ears, but with intuition. In ancient mystical traditions, twilight was regarded as the sacred hour for declaration. Not a declaration before the world, but a vow between the soul and itself. For in the half-light, the line between the self and the all dissolves, and every word spoken carries creative power. They called this ritual times the golden ladder times a spiritual ceremony to construct the infrastructure of consciousness, the invisible foundation of every thought, action, and reality. The golden ladder is not an object, but a metaphor for the energetic structure within a person. Each rung is a belief, an affirmation, a level of awareness we climb daily. If the rungs are strong, we ascend with ease, reaching higher levels of understanding. But if they are weak, cracked, or misaligned, we fall into chaos and repeat old cycles. Therefore, at each twilight, those devoted to inner practice perform the rite of restoring the golden ladder, reaffirming their original declarations, anchoring energy stakes deep into the ground of the soul. The ritual begins in stillness. As the sun sinks and the sky fades, one sits or stands where the changing colors can be seen. No prayers, no petitions, only observation. They know that twilight is not the time for doing, but for receiving. As orange yields to violet, the breath slows, the mind softens, and a faint whisper arises. It does not sound in the ear, but within the heart. Asterisk. Now is the time to reaffirm who you are. Asterisk. Then they speak, not loudly, but clearly enough for the soul to hear. I am the light within the dark. I choose peace amidst chaos. I know the path, even when my eyes cannot see. Each phrase is a stone laid upon the steps. Each step glows not in space, but within consciousness. When words are spoken in this liminal state, they sink straight into the infrastructure of the subconscious, that deep terrain governing all behaviors we seldom notice. Neuroscience calls this the times alpha gateway times, the transition between the beta waves of waking thought and the theta waves of the subconscious. In this state, the brain is at its most receptive. Every word, image, and emotion imprints deeply. What the ancients sensed by intuition is now confirmed by science. Twilight truly is the door into the infrastructure of the mind. Thus, those who use this moment to reprogram belief need not struggle through the day, for the roots have already been replanted by night. A woman named Amira, a scholar of ancient Athens, wrote in her journals that each evening before lighting the oil lamp, she would step out onto her balcony, place her hand upon her chest, and speak the words she wished to become. I am clear enough to understand what is unspoken. I am strong enough to love even through pain. I am still enough to see the universe in a grain of dust. She wrote that this ritual changed her life entirely, not through miracle, but because each night she was rebuilding her foundation. The golden ladder is not just a spiritual symbol, but the functional architecture of consciousness. When you repeat a belief in a calm state, especially during twilight or just before sleep, you overwrite the old programs. The subconscious does not distinguish between real and imagined. It records what is repeated with emotion. Thus, each declaration becomes a new command written into the system. Gradually, every reaction, action, and choice begins to reflect that belief. The infrastructure of consciousness, in other words, is the invisible framework of life. If it is built upon fear, you will always find reasons to worry. If built upon faith, every challenge becomes a lesson, not a threat. It cannot be seen, but it can be felt. The quiet certainty amid storms, the calm conviction though the future is unseen. And each twilight, when you stand still and speak your affirmation with peace in your heart, you are gilding every step of your inner ladder. Those who understand this ritual do not seek power elsewhere. They know that true strength comes not from outward action, but from the foundation within. A person with a strong inner infrastructure can move mountains in silence, for when inner energy is aligned, The outer world must respond in kind. Just as an architect cannot build upon sand, the soul cannot build life upon fragile belief. The golden ladder is that foundation, steady, warm, and radiant. If you wish to practice, choose a declaration that aligns with what you most need now. Do not speak vaguely, speak with sincerity. I am safe. I am worthy of all good things. I trust that everything unfolds for me. Repeat them in twilight when the world pauses. Feel each word as a current of energy traveling up the spine, rising to the mind, then radiating through the body. Each time you do this, you extend your golden ladder one rung higher. Then, as night falls and your body drifts to sleep, those words continue working in the depths of the mind. In dreams, they become images, emotions, experiences. And by morning, when dawn light brushes your eyelids, you awaken subtly changed, not knowing why, only feeling peace and clarity. That is the moment your subconscious infrastructure has been reinforced. For the whisper of twilight never speaks loudly. It speaks only to those willing to stand still, to listen, and to believe that the words they utter in that moment are not lost, but engraved upon the deepest layers of the soul. And one day, when your life begins to align with the declarations you once spoke, you will understand every twilight has always been a ceremony. A moment when a human stands between two worlds, gazes at a shifting sky, and with a simple vow climbs one rung higher on the golden ladder toward the temple of their own being. There are nights when sleep is no longer mere rest, but a doorway into another realm where time bends, and the soul can travel across parallel timelines to meet itself in lives once lived or in futures not yet arrived. The ancients called this phenomenon asterisk, the timeless chamber. Asterisk, it is not quite a dream, nor entirely real, but an intermediary state where consciousness remains awake while the body dissolves into space. In that moment, one may encounter faces strange yet familiar, beings who seem to know us better than we know ourselves, and sometimes one meets one's own gaze from another time. Legends tell of an ancient assembly of souls known as Times the Council of the Wise, asterisk. They do not exist in any place, but in a higher plane of awareness, accessible in dreams, when the soul reaches equilibrium between consciousness and the subconscious. They are neither gods nor mortals, but the collective memory of human wisdom, keepers of all knowledge, all guidance, all insight. And whenever a person falls asleep in a state of readiness, they are led into Times, the palace of memory, Times, a vast hall that contains the soul's entire archive from origin to infinity. There, every question finds its answer, and every dream carries the mission of illumination. A man named Lucian once wrote that during a deep night's sleep, he dreamed of walking into a chamber filled with sapphire light, its walls inlaid with luminous crystals. At the center was a round table surrounded by silent figures. They did not speak, but whenever he thought of a question, one of them smiled and the image of the answer appeared in the air. When he awoke, he wrote down everything, the formulas, the insights, the revelations that later became the foundation of his real-world discoveries. He did not know where he had been. He only knew that from that night on, he no longer felt alone in his search for understanding. Science may call it a random arrangement of neural activity, but those who have lived it know it is something deeper. The experience feels more vivid than waking lifetime halts. The air vibrates differently, and the words heard there carry a resonance that feels eternal. When one meets the Times, Council of the Wise, Times in Dream, they receive not only information but energy, the energy of knowing, of remembering. For the truth is, the council is not elsewhere. It is the highest aspect of one's own soul, the part that holds the perfect blueprint of being. In the timeless chamber, the physical room dissolves. The bed becomes an altar, the pillow a gateway, and sleep the journey itself. When intention is planted before sleep, asterisk, I wish to meet my future self. Asterisk, the subconscious opens the portal. The following dream no longer unfolds in fragments, but as a directed voyage. The dreamer may find themselves passing through a gate of light, meeting a figure identical to themselves, yet radiant with serenity. This is not a foreign vision, but the future self, the version of you who has overcome, evolved, and is sending back guidance across time. Meeting the future self is among the most powerful experiences one can have within the dream realm. For when you stand before a higher version of yourself, every insight carries absolute authority. There is no debate, no confusion, only clarity. Many who have had this encounter say the communication did not come through words, but through a gaze, a single look that conveyed everything. And upon waking, they knew exactly what to do, as if an invisible thread had been reconnected between the present and the future. Within the time's palace of memory, asterisk, everything is built from the energy of collective remembrance. The walls themselves breathe and shimmer. Each chamber contains a dimension of thought. One room holds visions of past lives, another preserves the voices of departed loved ones, another opens into landscapes of worlds yet to be born. But at the palace's heart lies a clear pool times the pool of covenant. Asterisk, when the soul gazes into it, the reflection is not a single face, but many past, future, and potential. And in that instant, one understands they are not a single being, but an endless sequence of experiences woven through eternity. The ancients believed sleep was the time when the soul left the body to reconnect with the time's universal network of knowledge. Asterisk. Each night, as consciousness loosens its grip, it grants access to data unreachable by the waking mind. Sudden insights, accurate intuitions, and strange luminous dreams are the traces of these journeys. And if one learns to prepare for sleep as one prepares for sacred ritual, they can navigate their own voyage through time. Before sleeping, sit quietly for a few minutes in the dark and ask clearly, asterisk, I wish to meet my future self. I wish to understand the message of my soul. I wish to see the next step, asterisk. Then inhale deeply and tell the mind that this sleep is not merely rest, but a meeting. As the body releases and consciousness softens, imagine the walls of your room expanding outward into infinity, the ceiling dissolving until only the night sky remains. A door of light opens at the foot of the bed. Step through it in your imagination. That is the beginning of the journey. When the dream begins, do not search for special signs. Let everything unfold naturally. The future self may not appear as a person, but as a symbol, a bird, a river, a flame. Each image is a code. And when you wake, note the first feeling you have. That feeling is the key. The subconscious understands emotion better than language. What you times know, times upon waking, is the true message. Some who practice the art of timeless sleep even build their own times, palace of memory times in imagination, a place they can return to each night. Through visualization, they create a fixed inner landscape, a corridor, a library, a garden. Each visit adds new memories, lessons, or insights. Over time, the palace becomes a center of luminous energy, the nexus where all dreams converge. It is how the soul organizes its learning across lifetimes, like a library of light, preserving all that has ever been understood. The timeless chamber requires no tools, only intention. It does not depend on belief, for transcendence through time is a natural ability of consciousness itself. But to enter it, one must master stillness, for only in silence does time unfold. When you no longer cling to the present, fear the future, or mourn the past, you naturally touch the realm where all times coexist. There, meeting your future self is not imagination, it is remembering what has already happened. And when you awaken from such a night, something in the air will feel different. Everything familiar will carry greater depth. You will know, without knowing how, that you have been somewhere. Though details may fade, you carry the energy of that encounter, a clarity of direction, a fading of fear, a quiet trust rising within. For a part of you from the future has already given you that faith. Therefore, see your room not merely as a place to sleep, but as a portal through time. Each night as you rest your head on the pillow, whisper, asterisk, tonight I meet myself. Asterisk, let sleep become ceremony, the room become temple, and the mind become a vessel sailing beyond all limits. And when dawn arrives, you will understand that what you once called dream was in truth a meeting, a gathering of your many selves, past, present, and future, seated together in the palace of memory, continuing the eternal story that your soul is still writing. In the visible world, every metal can be refined to become purer, stronger, and more radiant. But in the invisible world, human emotion is also a kind of matter awaiting refinement. Every sorrow, fear, or anger is raw ore containing within it the gold of awareness. Those who know how to transmute emotion are no longer carried away by it. They use its very energy to pass beyond limitation. This process is called asterisk emotional alchemy, asterisk. And it takes place not in a laboratory, but within the heart. When combined with an understanding of the asterisk quantum field, one realizes that emotion is not merely a reaction, but a formative force, a creative energy that shapes timelines, opening or closing the infinite possibilities that coexist in parallel. At its deepest layer, emotion is a vibrational signal. Each emotion corresponds to a specific frequency within the energy field that surrounds us. Joy vibrates fast, light, and expansive. Fear vibrates heavy, slow, and contracted. When we dwell in a certain emotion, we tune into the timeline that resonates with it, meaning we step into the reality that matches that frequency. Thus, changing emotion is not just altering mood, it is shifting reality itself. This is the intersection of inner alchemy and quantum physics, where the human being ceases to be a victim of emotion and becomes the alchemist of their own soul. The ancient alchemists believed that in every piece of lead, gold is sleeping. They did not destroy the lead, they heated it until its inner structure changed. Emotion is the same. Every pain, when held in awareness, burns itself until it reveals its own light. When we dare to sit quietly with sadness, observing without escape, it begins to dissolve, not because we force it away, but because the energy of attention is the purest flame. Sincere attention causes all illusion to fall away. Fear turns into courage. Wounds turn into understanding. Loss turns into gratitude. That is the process of emotional alchemy. In a thought experiment, imagine every emotion as an electric current flowing through the body. When we resist, the current meets resistance and creates heat tension in the body, racing heart, heavy head. But when we breathe deeply and allow the current to flow, that energy becomes light, inspiration, clarity, relief. The very moment we stop resisting, transformation begins. The Taoists called this the fire of stillness, a fire that does not burn but illuminates. When one understands that emotion is simply energy in motion, one stops identifying with it. We no longer say, "I am sad," but rather, "Sadness is moving through me." This separation opens space between the observer and the observed, and within that space, magic happens. The quantum field, the plane where all possibilities exist at once, begins to respond to the new frequency. Every time a heavy emotion is transmuted, a new potential becomes available. For the quantum field does not respond to words, but to the genuine energy of the heart. Imagine standing amid countless paths, each one a timeline, a different version of the future. The path you enter depends not on rational choice, but on the emotional frequency you hold in that moment. One who carries fear unconsciously steps into roads lined with anxiety. One who carries trust naturally walks into roads filled with opportunity. Emotion is the navigation system, the magnet drawing, matching realities closer. Thus, emotional alchemy is learning to recalibrate the compass, not by fleeing darkness, but by using inner light to walk through it. An old story tells of a student asking the master, "How do I overcome suffering?" The master replied, "Do not overcome it, go through it." When the student meditated in his grief, he felt his heart melting, tears falling, his body trembling, but he did not flee. He continued to sit until, at the center of the pain, he noticed a small beam of light. It was not joy, but serenity, a quiet, unmoving point of radiance. When he opened his eyes, the world around him seemed different. Nothing had changed, yet everything had. He had stepped into another timeline, one where the old suffering no longer held him. The quantum field, simply put, is an infinite ocean of energy containing all possible outcomes. When we are in pain, we are merely within one specific probability where energy is compressed into old patterns. But when we shift emotion, we change frequency, we step out of that pattern and enter another probability. This is what it means to asterisk. Asterisk, choose a timeline of possibility. Asterisk, asterisk. No complicated method is needed, only a change of inner state. When a person releases resentment and chooses forgiveness, they instantly leave the timeline where pain ruled and enter the one where peace is the foundation. Many believe that changing the future is a matter of action, but on the energetic level, it begins with emotion. For action arises from emotion, emotion arises from belief, and belief is the nucleus that defines the soul's frequency. When we perform emotional alchemy, we are altering the very structure of our deepest belief, shifting from being victims of circumstance to creators of response. And when response changes, the entire architecture of reality follows. To practice, begin by observing the body whenever emotion arises. Do not analyze, just feel. If sadness comes, let it spread through the body without suppression. If anger comes, sense it as energy, not as fault. Then breathe deeply and notice that you are still the one observing. In that instant, you are already separate from the old energy and restructuring it. Each breath is an act of alchemy, each acceptance raises the frequency. Then, as sleep approaches, carry an intention. Asterisk, tonight, I choose the best timeline for my soul. Asterisk, let the subconscious do the rest. In dreams, the timelines will intersect and the soul will recalibrate. Upon waking, you may feel lighter, as though you've stepped out of an old reality into a brighter, warmer, truer version of yourself. Emotional alchemy is not about erasing darkness, but about learning to see the light hidden within it. Each time we face pain with presence, we do not lose energy, we reclaim it from where it was trapped. Gradually, the soul grows stronger, more radiant, freer, and one day, looking back, you will understand every tear ever shed was not in vain, for they were the elixir that cleansed the heart, the golden chalice holding the essence of growth. Then you no longer ask, why do I suffer? But, what is this pain trying to teach me? For you have become the alchemist of emotion, one who uses the fire of awareness to turn the heavy metals of sorrow into the pure gold of wisdom. And in that very moment, the quantum field opens, like an invisible doorway whispering, asterisk, you have chosen the brightest timeline. Asterisk. There is one thing all ancient civilizations knew, which modern humanity seems to have forgotten. This universe is not built of matter, but of frequency. Everything vibrates, everything sings. From the heartbeat of a planet to the oscillation of an atom, from the breath of the wind to the silence within stone, all are sound across different bands of frequency. In our deepest nature, the human being is also an instrument. Each cell a string, each bloodstream a score, each emotion a melody. When that music goes out of tune, life turns chaotic. When it returns to rhythm, we are healed. To understand this, we must look back to where sound begins, in the bloodline of the ancestors. The ancients believed human DNA stores not only biological memory, but soul memory. Every lineage carries its own symphony, handed down from generation to generation through blood, breath, and prayer. They called this the bloodline of memory. When a person feels lost, they are not truly off the path. They have merely lost connection with their root melody. Ancestral rituals, the drum, the flute, the chant, were not for worship, but for rekindling the root frequency, reminding us who we are in the great music of the cosmos. Sacred sound is the universe's first language. Before letters, images, or concepts, there was sound. A primordial tone is named differently across cultures, Om or Amen, yet all point to the same thing, the primal vibration that gives birth to light and form. In Indian lore, when Brahman uttered Om, the universe blossomed into billions of worlds. In ancient Egyptian texts, the sound of the god Thoth carved the shapes of the stars. And within each human, that sound still vibrates, in the heart, in the brain, in the breath. While we sleep, the heart never falls silent. It sings steady, beat by beat. Each beat is an electromagnetic signal rippling through the whole body, synchronizing billions of cells. If sleep is a homecoming, then the heartbeat is the guiding string. In sound healing rites, practitioners place crystal, bells, or drums near the body to resonate with the heart's rhythm. When two frequencies meet and harmonize, the body is returned to its natural balance. In such rites, crystal is not mere ornament. It is an amplification tool, recording, multiplying, and reflecting the soul's frequency. Crystals possess exquisitely ordered molecular structures, causing strong resonance with the body's electromagnetic field. Placed near the heart or brow, they reflect not only light, but energy. The ancients used them to store information, much as we store data in modern microcircuits. It is no accident that our microprocessor technology is crystal-based. The universe designed crystal as a natural hard drive for energy. When one combines sound with crystal, one reenacts the cosmos's operating principle. Wave meets wave, light meets light, information meets memory. Ancient adepts often rang crystal bowls or aerophonic harps in full moon ceremonies, not to summon gods, but to synchronize the body with planetary frequencies. As the tone arises, they feel the body lighten, thoughts settle, and a warm current spread from the spine. This is the moment outer sound merges with inner sound, when human and universe breathe as one. Our ancestors had no telescopes, yet they knew how to listen. They listened to the crack of earth, to wind and water, and called these the voices of the divine. They understood that sound carries not only energy, but intelligence. Each frequency is a form of information. A chant repeated across generations does not exist merely as sound. It engraves itself into the lineage's energy field, shielding descendants from spiritual rupture. When we repeat a mantra or a prayer, we are not just speaking, we are activating our own ancient memory network. Someone once asked, how do we connect with the ancestors? The answer is not in graveyards, but in vibration. Listen to the sound of your own breath. This breath is not only yours, it is the bridge from the first ancestor who ever inhaled within your bloodline, passed across millennia to you. With each inhale, you carry the breath of your entire family. With each exhale, you send new energy back into the line. This is why remembrance rites in many cultures never stand alone. They are accompanied by sound, drum, bell, liturgy. Sound opens the road between the living and the departed. It is the frequency of memory continuing on. When sleep becomes ritual and the bedroom a temple, sound is the gatekeeper. A gentle melody, a single bell, or simply the heartbeat can unlock the dream door. When you sleep within tender frequencies, you are not merely sleeping, you are entering synchrony with the rhythm of the whole. The crystal beside your bed then acts as a silent scribe, absorbing the dream's frequency, storing the message, and at dawn reflecting that light back into your mind. Legend says some ancient monks knew how to hear crystal. They did not place an ear to it. They laid a hand upon it and sensed subtle vibration, as if thousands of voices whispered within. Some called this Earth's memory, for crystals formed in the planet's womb over millions of years, bearing the frequencies of tectonic change and of every being that lived and dissolved. When we touch crystal, we touch the planet's history and, through it, connect with those who lived before us. Frequency, sound, ancestors, and crystal, four elements that seem separate, are in truth one cycle. Sound awakens memory, memory flows through the bloodline resonates with crystal, and crystal amplifies sound. When all four unite, we enter what might be called the ancestral frequency, where our singular voice rings like the chorus of 1,000 souls. In this state, sleep is no longer personal but collective. We do not dream only for ourselves. We dream on behalf of the lineage, healing memories still caught in the blood. If there is a right to enter this connection, it is simple. Before sleep, light a candle and place a crystal or a small stone by the bed. Close your eyes, inhale deeply, and hum a long, continuous tone, perhaps Om, or a natural resonance rising from the chest. Let the sound spread throughout the body, passing through the heart, along the spine, then radiating outward. As the tone dissolves into space, sense 1,000 voices humming with you. They are the ancestors, the earth, the sky, the souls who have passed and yet remain here. And as you drift into sleep, remember, the dreams you see are not solely your own. They are the fruit of generations continuing to dream through you. You are the bridge between memory and the future, between old frequency and the new. The crystal on your nightstand will quietly record the night's song, proof that your soul has joined the invisible chorus of the cosmos, where every sound is heard, every vibration meaningful, and where the ancestors keep singing through your voice. In every heartbeat, every dream, and every breath of dawn. Since the time when humans still lived in caves, long before we learned to write, we have dreamed. And within those dreams, strange images, symbols, and voices have whispered things that our waking mind could not understand. Dreams are the oldest language, the language the universe uses to speak to the human soul. It is no coincidence that in every civilization, from Egypt and Mesopotamia to Greece, the prophets were those who could times read, times symbols. They understood that each dream is not merely a reflection of the mind, but a coded message sent from the deep layers of collective intelligence, the place where all souls communicate through symbols. Dreams do not speak in words, they speak in images. A door may be opportunity, a snake may be knowledge, a river may be emotion in motion. Behind every image lies its own energetic code. When we learn to read this language, we no longer feel confused by our dreams, but become travelers through the many layers of our own memory. Every symbol in a dream is a mirror, reflecting a part of the soul, a part that may have been forgotten, suppressed, or yearning to be reborn. The ancient Egyptians believed that dreams were literal journeys of the soul. They painted the images from their dreams on tomb walls, seeing them as maps to guide the spirit after death. The Greeks called dreams the plays of the gods, where deities use symbols to direct human life. In Eastern mysticism, the dream is known as the third gate, the meeting point between the visible and invisible worlds. All these traditions converge on one truth. Symbols are the shared language of the universe, and dreams are the school through which we relearn it. Symbols live not only in dreams, but are imprinted into the architecture of the cosmos itself. Look closely at a flower, a snowflake, or the orbit of a planet, and you will see that they are built from the same language, asterisk, asterisk, sacred geometry, asterisk, asterisk. It is the foundational structure of existence, the handwriting of God etched in light. The Fibonacci spiral, the six-pointed star, the flower of life, the cube of Metatron, all are signs through which the universe expresses its order. Every curve, every angle carries a frequency that directly affects the human mind when we see, touch, or imagine it. In dreams, when we encounter strange geometries, overlapping circles, luminous triangles, or moving shapes, it is not random. It is the moment when the subconscious opens and reveals the energetic structure of the soul itself. Sacred geometry appears in dreams as codes of light, helping us realign with the natural order of the cosmos. Many people report waking from such dreams feeling lighter, clearer, and more intuitive, for when the soul recognizes sacred geometry, it is remembering its own design. Each soul is a living geometric pattern. When we feel imbalanced, it is because our energetic shape has been distorted, like a spiral bent out of symmetry. When we meditate, listen to sound, or dream deeply, that shape adjusts and returns to harmony. In that instant, we reconnect with asterisk, asterisk, collective intelligence, asterisk, asterisk, the vast ocean of consciousness in which all souls interweave. At the deepest layer of dreaming, there is no me or others, only a boundless web where every memory, symbol, and emotion of humanity merges into a single symphony. Carl Jung called this layer the collective unconscious, but ancient civilizations had another name for it, the library of souls. Within it, every symbol is a doorway, and every dream a journey through its infinite archives. When someone dreams of a phoenix, millions before them have dreamed the same. The phoenix carries the frequency of resurrection, the energy of rebirth after destruction. When one dreams of falling from the sky, they are touching the shared memory of losing control, an emotion embedded in the human psyche since the beginning of time. Every dream is both personal and universal. To understand this is the first step toward decoding oneself. Dream interpretation is not fortune-telling, it is conversation with the soul. Write your dreams each morning, not with logic, but with feeling. Ask, asterisk, what did this dream make me feel? Asterisk, because emotion is the key that unlocks the true meaning of symbols. A snake may signify danger or life force. A mountain may signify struggle or enlightenment. No dream has a single meaning. It changes according to the dreamer's frequency. Some dream of golden light surrounding their bodies, that is a symbol of energetic alignment. Some dream of walking through a labyrinth, that is the soul searching for its center. Some dream of flight, that is liberation from old boundaries. Each image is a lesson, and for those who can see, dreams carry teachings deeper than any book. The language of symbols is also the language of creation. The universe does not understand grammar or words, it understands shape and emotion. When we visualize what we desire with clarity, the universe receives it as a blueprint and begins arranging matter accordingly. Thus, the one who knows how to dream is not escaping reality, but programming it. In sleep, they create the image. When awake, they live within its crystallized form. And the collective intelligence watches quietly, like an invisible teacher. It sends signs through dreams, through symbols, through coincidences. An image you saw in a dream may reappear on a wall, in a stranger's words, or within a melody. These are not accidents, but confirmations, messages from the universe, telling you that you are aligned. Collective intelligence never speaks directly. It converses through metaphor, through symbol, through the art of synchronicity. To reach this intelligence, learn to live as one who dreams, even while awake. Observe everything through the eyes of symbolism. Rain is not merely water, but a cleansing message. Sunset is not merely beauty, but an allegory of death and renewal. An old friend's return is not just nostalgia, but a reminder of an unfinished lesson. When you begin to see the world as a dream telling itself, you have learned the language the universe uses to speak. And when night comes, before you sleep, whisper, asterisk, tonight, I will listen in images, asterisk. Then let your mind drift into the dream, like a student returning to an ancient classroom. There, the teacher does not use words but symbols. A shining circle, a winding path, a slowly blooming flower, each is a lesson. When you awaken, record it, for it was not just a dream, but a teaching the soul's lecture in a language that only the truly awake can read. The language of symbols is the bridge between the human mind and the universe's collective intelligence. To learn to read it is to learn to hear oneself again. For in the end, dreams never teach us anything new. They only remind us of what the soul has always known. And when we remember, we not only decode our dreams, but decode our very existence within the sacred symphony that echoes through infinity. There comes a moment in the dreamer's journey when they realize that every ritual, every symbol, and every dream was never meant only to understand the world, but to remember the primordial creative power within themselves. They begin to understand that there is no need to search far for treasure, for the supreme key has always been in their hands, asterisk, asterisk, awakened awareness and the deepest gratitude, asterisk, asterisk. When these two elements meet, the infinite door opens and the human becomes the editor of their own timeline. To edit the past does not mean to erase what has happened, but to rewrite the energy of memory. The past is not fixed. It is a collection of vibrations the mind has recorded. When we revisit an old event through a higher frequency, through understanding and gratitude, we do not change the event, but we change how its energy affects us. The wounds that once weakened us become the material of strength. The losses that once broke us become the space where light flows in. When we edit the past, we are telling the universe, I choose to learn from this, not live within it forever. There is an ancient technique in mystical schools known as the asterisk bandwidth of gratitude. Asterisk, they believe gratitude is not just an emotion but a physical force, a frequency that can expand the space-time around a person. When we are truly grateful, our energy field widens, softening all conflict and restructuring stuck currents of energy. Gratitude is the wave that clears the dust of memory, returning the soul to its original clarity. A person who lives within the bandwidth of gratitude can turn every event into a blessing, for they have learned to see meaning in all things. If the past is the manuscript, then gratitude is the soul's editing pen. Every time we say thank you to something that once hurt us, We are marking the page of destiny with golden ink. In that moment, old buried energies rise, but no longer as pain, rather as light. For in the deepest truth, every experience was born to lead us back to awareness. And when the mind has been cleared, when we stand within the bandwidth of gratitude, the asterisk, infinite door, asterisk, begins to appear. It is a formless space where all possibilities coexist. The one who has passed through emotional alchemy, mastered the language of symbols, and learned to hear the lunar rhythm within now perceives the invisible architecture of reality. They realize that every choice, emotion, and thought is a doorway, and beyond each is a different timeline. At this level, limitation is merely habit. To pass through the infinite door is not an act of doing, but of trusting. When we believe reality can unfold miracles, the door has already opened. Dreamers who reach this threshold often say the outer world begins to sing with them. Coincidences multiply. The person they think of suddenly calls. The book they need falls into their hands. The right opportunity appears at the perfect moment. This is not random, but an asterisk energy imprint, the result of consciousness and reality's field merging as one. When the separation between self and universe dissolves, everything moves together like an orchestra in perfect synchrony. Our heartbeat becomes the drum of the earth, our breath the rhythm of the sea. In that moment, life no longer needs to be controlled, only listened to. Mystics call this state the asterisk orchestra of synchronicity. Here, we no longer try to conduct the rhythm, but become part of the symphony. If something feels off, we do not resist. We simply tune our own frequency, like an instrument adjusting itself. When we change our tone, the world changes its rhythm. When we listen deeply, the universe sings along. This is the stage where the dreamer's soul enters the asterisk graduation ceremony. Asterisk, no longer a student of dreams, but a co-creator with them. This graduation carries no diploma or title, only one sign: peace. The dreamer has walked through darkness and discovered the truth that nothing and no one outside can determine them. They see fear, but are no longer guided by it. They understand that suffering is not the enemy, but the teacher. They no longer pray for miracles, for they themselves are the miracle. When they walk, the ground feels quieter. When they breathe, the wind feels softer, and life responds to them with perfect harmony. In this state, every morning becomes a ritual. When they open their eyes, the sunlight feels like a blessing. Every small act, drinking water, walking, breathing, carries the awareness of sacredness. They no longer separate spiritual from ordinary, for they have realized that all life is spiritual. Every encounter is a lesson, every challenge a bridge, and every night a doorway back to the origin of light. After graduation, the dreamer does not leave the world but remains within it, in a new role, asterisk. A weaver of order, asterisk. They no longer say, believe, for their presence alone makes others begin to believe. They no longer persuade, for their life itself teaches. The energy they radiate has become the clearest lesson. Where they walk, peace follows. When they speak, the flame of awakening passes on. They become a lamp in the night, not because they wish to shine, but because they have become light itself. The supreme key in the end lies not in any ritual, book, or teacher, but in the union of awareness and gratitude. Awareness gives light. Gratitude gives love. One opens the mind, the other opens the heart. When both are open, the infinite door opens too, and the soul returns to its original position where everything is right, everything is enough, everything is whole. And that is the moment of the asterisk dreamers' graduation, asterisk, asterisk, when they no longer seek the dream, for they have become the dream itself. They no longer ask what the universe will send, for they know they are the universe sending. They no longer look for signs, for every breath has become a sign. They walk through daily life as through a sacred ceremony, each day a ritual, each night a hymn, each sleep a return to the primordial light. For when the dreamer holds the supreme key, they understand there is no final ending, only endless awakenings. And each time they close their eyes, the universe smiles, knowing that the child of light has learned how to dream and is now ready to live the eternal dream within infinity.